Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of League Chat with the Stat. Great to be back after another cracker weekend of rugby league. Happy Easter to all of you that celebrate Easter. Christ has risen indeed. Great weekend of football. Starting off with the NRL ladder, you've got still two teams undefeated, still in the battle of the West between the Panthers and the Eels, both on 8 points each. You've got the Roosters, Rabbitohs, Raiders, and Dragons on 6 points. You've got the Storm and Sharks, who finish off the top 8 on 4, as well as the following teams who are still on 4 points. The Titans, the Knights, and the Warriors. You've got the Broncos and the Tigers, still stuck on 2 points, and still winless, the Cowboys, Bulldogs, and lucky last, the Sea Eagles. Now, great for you guys to have joined me once again on another cracker edition of League Chat with the Stat. Talking all things round 4, another great week of rugby league. But there was still a lot of blowouts as well. You could just tell that for some teams that this week was just more of a training run than anything. So let's get straight into that. Now, Panthers 46 defeating the Sea Eagles 6. Speaking of training runs, this is exactly what that was to me. It was a complete dominant performance from the Panthers. Some of the tries that they scored were just way too soft. You'd think that in any NRL sort of side that they would be able to defend those. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to be the case. The Sea Eagles were woeful. Their defense was disgustingly soft. They have to figure out something to turn it around. As I said, Panthers just treated it like another training session. And I think the more that the Panthers gel together and click, more than they have last year, I think that they will continue to be a dominant force. I actually saw these guys outside the top 4, but they're still undefeated at the moment. And so having seen that pay off just goes to show the amount of work they've been putting in since they lost the grand final, and just wanting to be able to get back at the top and hopefully get a premiership under their belt this year. But onto the Sea Eagles for a moment. They've just been really, really bad. And I made a key point that you can't start a year without a hooker, a specialised hooker, someone who can actually play hooker. Putting your halves into hooker is not going to help. Putting someone like Kieran Foran in your halves who is way past his best isn't going to help either. Having someone like Dylan Walker who hasn't played fullback, playing fullback doesn't help. The Sea Eagles should have seen this coming. I think the one thing that really frustrated me as I watched the game, Jake Trbojevic, who goes and busts his backside off week in, week out, punches in big minutes week in, week out, puts up big stats, does his best. When he was one of the tries that was scored, he just went and lost it at the team, and none of the team could look him in the eye. It's like some of the team didn't care about what he had to say. And as one of the inspirational leaders of that club, I had to feel really sorry for him. For the guy that really tries his hardest week in, week out, who would bleed and die for the club, and you got some of these people in the team who don't even care and wouldn't even bat an eyelid to it, I thought was really pathetic. But it goes to show just exactly where the Sea Eagles are at. There is no unity in the team. There's no communication. They struggle to talk in defense. I don't know how. The first 3 tries were so soft. Terribly soft. So they've got a lot of work to get that turned around. It's going to be a long year for the Sea Eagles. They need to start buying players that will be able to fit into the squad and fit in and do a job as soon as possible. Waiting for Carl Lawton for another 3 months is a ludicrous signing, like I mentioned earlier. So it's going to be another long year for the Sea Eagles, unfortunately. With all this talk about Paul Green heading to help out the Sea Eagles, I think is a little ludicrous as well, seeing that Hasler won't need help with anyone. But it's more of a wait and see on that one. So, but look, you just got to look at some of the devastating stats from the Panthers. Brian To'o, 18 runs, 205 meters, a try, 2 line breaks, and 8 tackle breaks. On that wing was just a phenomenal start to the year from him. And Moses Leota, 17 runs, 172 meters, a try, a line break, and 2 tackle breaks, along with 20-odd tackles. Very big performance from him. He's made that starting position his own now that obviously Tedavano is no longer there and James Palmer is no longer there either. So he's really made that position his own. And I'm looking to see how much he grows his game now that he's a starting front rower. The Rabbitohs 38 defeated the Bulldogs 0 on their Good Friday clash. Another training run again for the Rabbitohs. Started off a little slow, must admit. Bulldogs actually played all right for the first 10 minutes. We completed 13 sets. Losing Lewis within 6 minutes in was very difficult, considering the fact that we had no one on the bench. Avrila was dropped. He said saying he had an ankle injury, but I reckon he was dropped. Lewis carried in 6 minutes. Obviously, it was very tough. Had Jackson Tarpanay, who was on debut, had to come in and fill in at hooker with Sonny Katoa, has never played halves on the ball before playing in the halves. Another tough day for the Bulldogs. You just got to look at, especially the fact that we have nothing in attack, and nothing's changed. I don't understand how we got nothing in attack when we have Trent Barrett, who's the best attacking coach. my mind is blown. And this is be very tough criticism. I know it's only 4 games in, but Kyle Flanagan doesn't know what he's doing out there. I think he gets shocked at the fact that we finally get to the try line and then he just doesn't know what to do. You know, one of the sets, he took a hit up on 4th. You're the main kicker. We don't have any other kickers in the side. Why are you taking up tackles on 4th? Or, and there was one set, he got the ball and it was 5th, and it was the only time he had the ball the whole set. Bulldogs punching out four forwards, or 3 forwards and the X to another forward, and then going out to the wing trying to do something. They won't go for a repeat set. They won't chase like a crossfield kick. Nothing. They won't try anything. I feel like Des Hazard still coaching the team from always trying to limit 7 tackle sets. Very tough. Very tough for the Bulldogs. A 3rd week in a row we haven't scored a point. It's becoming to a point where it's now beyond the joke. And if we could just swap the New South Wales Cup team with the main side, I think we should do that for a week. Because they seem to be scoring points. Regardless, win or loss, they're still scoring points. At least they're keeping it entertaining for the few fans that watch. But, look, there was actually some decent go forward from the Dogs, but we got nothing. We don't threaten anyone. You know, they can read our attacks so well. Thomas Burgess, 17 runs, 181 metres, 29 tackles. Big effort from big Tommy Burgess. Jai Arrow, again, off the bench, he's been such a great signing for them, hasn't he? 19 runs, 181 metres, 2 offloads, and 24 tackles. And look, really shouldn't be giving credit to anyone here, but Jack Hetherington actually busted his guts out and actually played really, really well. 16 runs, 169 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, and 27 tackles. Probably his best game I've seen him play for any club, from Panthers to Warriors to us. But we need more of that. Getting a few reinforcements back this week may help, but it's going to be another long week for the Bulldogs, and there's a good chance we may not score another point this week. Moving over to the next game on Good Friday, Storm 40 defeating the Broncos 6. Odd game. The first 20 minutes was really, really odd. A lot of errors from both sides. Couldn't seem to hold the ball. If you compare to how it was a couple of weeks ago, Storm were almost flawless in that game. It was against Para, where it was ridiculously wet in the weather. But look, ridiculous. Like I thought Brisbane started off pretty well, kept them on the back foot. I thought that try that was set up by Dearden for Coates was fantastic. And then he just went downhill from there. You know, in 11 minutes, Pappenhausen scored 4 cracker tries. That destroyed the Broncos alone. Those 4 tries itself destroyed the Broncos. So, very tough. I mean, if you've got someone like Ryan Pappenhausen in your squad, you're pretty blessed. But for the Broncos, they're still having issues with their halves. You know, Croft obviously had to come off the bench for this game. Dearden was okay, but he scored 6 points. So really, it's not good enough. Milford don't know what he's doing out there. I think he needs to change a club. And I think with all the rumours happening as of recent, he may not be at Brisbane next year. There needs to be a change. But what the Broncos need to do is they need to chase a proper half. You got Dearden, who's off contract, being chased by the Cowboys. You got Croft, who's there for another year, who's providing nothing. You've got Milford, who's on $1 million doing nothing. With talk of Adam Reynolds not being extended out the Rabbitohs, I would be chucking $1 million, or very close to $1 million, on a 2-3 year deal for Adam Reynolds to come to the club and change everything up in attack. That's what I'd be doing if I was the Broncos. Chase Adam Reynolds. Now, you can't really sit here and blame the halves for a lot of that. A little intrigued with Kevin Walters coaching and only having TPJ only play 30-odd minutes. Didn't report of any injuries. And he needed to lift. I think this was the game where if you're going to put him on for 50, 60 minutes, this is the game you need to do it against one of the best teams in the comp. But he played 25, 30 minutes. And he was really poor. He made no effect. He made no impact. And it's concerning. Very concerning for the Broncos in a game where they needed to win and needed to put in a bigger effort. Their best player in TPJ really couldn't do much. It was limited to doing what he did. So I'm not sure what Walters is thinking there, but not something he would like to do again, because TPJ, when he's on, and he can destroy any team he plays. So we'll be able to see. But look, stand out for me, Ryan Pappenhausen. You know, 4 tries, 5 from 7 conversions, 26 runs, 298 meters, 2 line breaks, a try assist, a line break assist, 10 tackle breaks, and 3 offloads. People have been saying to me, is it Ryan Pappenhausen that's better or James Tedesco? I'm going to get into that a little bit later, so stay tuned for that. Another player for me for the Storms, Christian Walsh, 17 runs, 179 meters, a tackle break, 5 offloads, and 26 tackles. That's good. And Payne Haas in his first hit out, playing 60-odd minutes, 14 runs, 150-odd meters, 3 tackle breaks, and 33 tackles. And what was the only kind of positive for the Broncos. Sharks 48 defeating the Cowboys 10, and another training run. if you notice, the first 4 games I've just listed were all training runs. You know, the Sharks were fantastic. I can't take anything away from them. They were very good. There's 4 tries they scored in 11 minutes in the first half, which was, again, very weak defense. My goodness me. It was very good to watch from the Sharks. Yeah, they still haven't really beaten the top 8 team yet, but they can take pride and be comfortable in the fact that they're putting away these teams that are like Cowboys who are rubbish. Again, they are performing so bad. It's like they don't care. It's like no one out there cares. And I feel for Todd Payton because I know he's trying to change it up a bit. There's no excuses. Like, there's no excuse for these performances. I mean, they've got... Last week they conceded 40 points. And then this week they conceded another 40 points. I mean... You can't really drop the whole team, can you? You know, and I feel for Todd Payton because he's got a lot of players there that don't really like him at the moment. Valentine Holmes, Jason Taumalolo, Josh Maguire, just to name a few. You know, Michael Morgan's going to be potentially retiring due to his shoulder, which we'll find out on Thursday. It's hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard to be the head coach of the Cowboys at the moment, just looking at the performances that they've been dishing out. It's horrendous. But I got to City, and I got to mention this because this is what's frustrating me at the moment. How the Sharks haven't looked to re-sign John Morris is beyond me. You know, they've got a lot of big stars missing in their squad. You know, Sean Johnson is $1 million player who hasn't played at all because of his Achilles injury. Andrew Fafita's on $850K. You know, they keep copying injuries after injuries. You know, Sione Katoa got injured last week. This week, Ronaldo Militado got injured. Josh Dugan went off for HIA. And they still lifted. This next man in mentality is working really well for the Sharks at the moment. But they have like $3-4 million off contract this year, and they still have $2.5 million sitting on the sideline. John Morris is doing exceptional. I'd like to back him for another 2 years. If I was Sharks, I'd be re-signing him for another 2 years because, like, I can almost guarantee that a coach like him can be used in at least 5 clubs, at least. And, you know, you're producing kids like Teague Wilton, who, with that next up mentality, you know, that next man mentality, 26 runs, 216 meters, a try, a line break assist, 2 tackle breaks, an offload, and 22 tackles in 80 minutes. It's a big performance. Especially from a kid that really doesn't play second row. But with that mentality, with the Sharks mentality they have, I think they're crazy for not re-signing John Morris. But then again, looking to see how Sharks build off this, especially they've got a tough opposition coming up against the Roosters this week, so that'll be one to watch out for. But yeah, they're playing really well, the Sharks. And the Cowboys, yeah, they're just... No one cares. And they need to start ripping in for their coach. The Raiders 20 defeating the Titans 4. And I thought it was a pretty good performance from the Raiders. But I think what the highlight for me was some of their defensive efforts. Fantastic. You know, Gold Coast, I don't want to see it and they say they played terribly because I don't think they did. I don't think they were shocking. I don't think they were so bad. I thought they were really good. That was probably one of the most enjoyable games I've seen this round. If you've got to consider the fact that all the games have been blowouts, 46-6, 38-0, 40-6, 48-10, 20-4, doesn't really justify how it went. As I said, I thought the Titans just missed out a lot of opportunities. But they were all because of fantastic defensive reads from the Canberra Raiders. Especially Chancellor Klukster. Very good. You know, that try-saving tackle he made on Anthony Don, kind of mirroring what RTS did to Rapana, sorry. But they had a lot of opportunities and they just couldn't capitalize. You know, losing Fogarty in the first minute of the game, hard. Yeah, very hard for the Titans. Yeah, he played 42 minutes with a very bad cork. You can't really help that, can you? It's really hard. Peachy came on. Peachy the last month has been fantastic for the Titans as well. But the Raiders, you got to give it to them. They were really good. But I think the Titans struggled as well with not giving enough early ball to Fafita. They gave him early ball once and they scored a try off that. So they need to keep utilising him. I like the change that they made with Tino Fa'asuamaleaui jumping into the prop as opposed to going into lock. I thought he played really, really well. 20 runs, 201 meters, line breaks, 7 tackle breaks, and 39 tackles in a 73-minute effort. It's very good. He's so good, this Tino. He's got a massive future. He's already won a comp. He's gonna be so good for the Titans, and he's already reaping the rewards of that. He's been phenomenal for him. But Josh Papali'i, I keep getting these names wrong. I'm not used to these name changes. But Josh Papali'i coming off the bench playing 55 odd minutes, 21 runs, 193 meters, 67 post-contact meters, a try, a line break, 3 tackle breaks, an offload, and 29 tackles. Off the bench. They've got a lot of forward rotations going at the moment with the Raiders. But numbers like that, it's hard to ignore. Party comes on and busts his backside. Does with everything he's got. And it's great to watch. It's great to see. So, Titans obviously spewing that they didn't get to capitalize on opportunities, but the Raiders performed really well. And it starts with their big men, like Josh Papali'i, Ryan Sutton, Nico Cogstar in the back, saving those tries. So the Raiders looking to contend this year again for the comp, which I still think will be Raiders Rabbitohs at this point for the grand final. But they're doing well. They're doing really well. And they still have a lot of depth. Dunamis Louis, New South Wales Cup. Corey Haruanaira, New South Wales Cup. Corey Holsborough, New South Wales Cup. Omre Gula. The talent there is endless. But it's such a healthy squad, and I love watching them. And they're performing really well, so they'll definitely be there at the end of the year for sure. Dragons 22 defeating the Knights 13. Tough start for the Saints. Cody Ramsey falconed himself more than he caught balls on Sunday afternoon. But I thought the Dragons dug in and fought really well. Knights have a massive pack. Huge pack. And for Dragons to aim up to him, that's, I reckon, what won him the game. Now, big effort from the Saints as well, considering that Ben Hunt hasn't played or wasn't playing because of his broken leg. Jack Bird suspended a week, who's been decent for them. But Corey Norman has been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. Probably, he's really, looks like he's actually really enjoying his football. Don't know if it's an Anthony Griffin factor. He's got some of the Broncos boys back. Not sure what it is, but they're doing well. He's playing all right. Dufty in the back, fantastic. Lomax, really good. Clune stepping in, filling in, fantastic. Tariq Sims on the weekend was enormous. What about that charge down and try? Beautiful stuff. I got a feel for the Knights. They lost Mitch Pearce to that pec injury. They lost Tex Hoy to that hamstring. Kurt Mann to the concussion. Jacob Saifidi, who got injured as well. And David Clemmer, who played on with a bad knee for 15 minutes. Man, they were out of everyone. They really struggled, the Knights. You got to feel for them. The three men I mentioned, Pearce, Hoy, and Mann, are 3/4 of the spine. And he looked messy. Jacob Saifidi playing in the centres. Connor Watson going into fullback. Mitch Barnett playing in 5'8". With Blake Green, who's only just come back from ACL, shown onto the field at halfback. Yeah, look, the Knights, they fought to the end. Can't fault them on that. They fought to the end. They tried really, really hard. But it was the Dragons who, when the Knights, their pack lifted, Dragons one-upped them. And that was big from them. That was big from the Saints. Tariq Sims, those 2 tries he scored were fantastic. And you just got to see, they're starting to enjoy their football a lot more, the Saints. I've been trying to count them out every week, but I'm struggling to count them out anymore because they're actually proving it on the football field that they're really, really doing well. And Dave Clemmer, for me, was probably the player that stood out to me the most. 20 runs, 187 meters, and offload 33 tackles. Even Tariq Sims, 2 tries, 13 runs for 110 meters or something, with 30-odd tackles. 2 of those guys being the shining lights in that team. But it was a great clash, very entertaining, considering all the games we've had thus far. And yeah, Saints are starting to sneak their way into being talked about as the most improved side so far. Roosters 32 defeating the Warriors 12 Easter Sunday night. And the Warriors got off to a decent start, but then they just had so many errors. So many errors. The Roosters started slow as well, but as the game went on, they started to pick up a little bit. Sam Walker on debut, oh my goodness me. I've never seen a kid that relaxed on a football field. It's like he's been playing with these boys like 200 games, 150 games. Yeah, all right, a couple of these first kicks weren't the greatest, but kid's on debut, 18-year-old, has to lead a whole side. Yeah, he impressed me. He was very good. Apart from the fact he scored 81 in Supercoach, but in terms of him fitting into the team, he was really good. A player that I really enjoyed watching. That ball to Nat Butcher was a great ball. 2 try assists in the game, a couple line break assists as well. He was fantastic. And the Chooks seem like they'll be all right without Luke Keary for a little bit. They seem like they'll do really well. As long as they stick to what they know and stick to the game plans, they'll still be up there. I can't count Roosters out, even though they've had a lot of injuries. Angus Crichton for me was probably the best. 23 runs, 206 meters, 113 post-contact. 113 post-contact. It's absurd. with 4 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, and 27 tackles for me. That's decent. But with the Warriors as well, they lost Adam Fanua-Blake early. They lost, Ben Maloch-Masila a little bit early. Jazz Tavaga went down with an ankle injury as well, so they were kind of depleted, but still fought pretty hard. But yeah, Roosters just took it away. The Eels on the Good Monday clash. Sorry, the Easter Monday clash. Eels 26 defeating the Tigers 22. Eels remaining undefeated to start the year, but they weren't great. I mean, they capitalized in certain periods that were really good, but they just allowed the Tigers to come back in at so many points in the game. But the Tigers in the first 30 minutes were pathetic. The last 10 minutes, they were good. They scored 2 tries. They were down 16-10, putting themselves back into the game. But that needs to be consistent. It can't just be for those times. But look, as I said, the Eels made a lot of errors as well. They completed like 9 of maybe 20, 21 sets in the second half. They had a lot of ball. And they just couldn't hold the ball for the life of it. You know, Ferguson had a few errors, especially off kickoff. You know, they need to be better. They need to be a lot better. Because the Tigers really could have taken that game, but they're just so inconsistent that they lost that opportunity. Isaiah Papali'i, what a shining light he's been for the club. 14 runs, 166 metres, a try, a line break, 5 tackle breaks, and 36 tackles. Starting in last minute for Ryan Madison, who was out due to concussion. And Luchi Leilua, mate, he had a very good game. 19 runs, 146 metres, a line break assist, a try assist, 4 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, and 31 tackles. Very good stuff. Very, very good stuff from Luciano Leilua. Punch out another big 80-minute performance, and a performance that I believe Michael Maguire will be very pleased with. Moving over to the news around the NRL world. Not a lot to cover this week, guys. But there was rumours of Jake Clifford trying to get out of the Knights deal. Don't know why. If you look at where the Cowboys, how the Cowboys are going, look at where the Knights are. Wouldn't be wanting to do that. Wiramu Greg, 125 kilo big boy from Cowboys, looks to be heading to Parramatta effective immediately on a 2.5-year deal. Moses Mbai requested that he negotiates with other clubs a new deal for potentially season 2023, but we'll try to get something season 2022. Cowboys are leading the front at this stage, but then again, the Cowboys have been linked to every half that's off contract. Moses Mbai, Tom Dearden, Anthony Milford, Adam Reynolds, Sean Johnson. So it's a matter of waiting and see what happens with one halfback to see what the rest of them do. Hayes Dunster for the Parramatta Eels extends his contract for another year, keeping him on contract till the end of 2022. James Roberts and Will Smith will be expecting fines from the NRL for ignoring NRL protocols and heading to the boxing last week and not wearing a mask. Latrell and Cody Walker got special permission from the NRL, as well as Zach Sadler from the Manly Sea Eagles. But James Roberts and Will Smith rocked up regardless, weren't wearing masks, weren't being COVID safe, and expect fines potentially this week or even next week from the NRL. 4 Titans players were investigated, including Kevin Proctor, for not wearing a mask while they were playing pokies. Don't know what you want me to say about that. The Dragons have shown interest in Josh Maguire. Todd Payton confirmed that they are shopping him around, and if the sooner he goes, the better. So Josh Maguire is linked to move to the Saints to return under Anthony Griffin. Jake Friend potentially looking to announce his retirement from the game due to a repeated amount of concussions that he's had, and we haven't seen him play since I think the first or second round where he copped that big concussion. So hoping it's not really the end for him, but if it is the end, mate, he's had a wonderful career, Jake Friend, and all the best to you, mate. And it's been a pleasure watching you. You know, starting off when you were a punk, and then being a premiership winner, a 2 or 3-time premiership winner over the years, has been a pleasure to watch. Reece Walsh is heading to the Warriors immediately. Should be announced in the next 24, 48 hours. With the player swap happening, Paul Turner is heading to the Broncos. He's a very good kid, Paul Turner, a very good player. Waiting on his opportunity to play first grade, so he should be something decent for the Bronx. And last bit of news, second last bit of news actually, Wayne Bennett's confirming he's heading back to Brisbane. Not the Broncos, just heading back to live in Brisbane. And he's done in Sydney after this year with the Rabbitohs. So he'll be heading back to Brisbane. Broncos are pretty keen to get him. All the Queensland clubs will, and those 3 clubs that are trying to get into the NRL for 2023 seem to be pretty keen as well. Moving on to Stats Supercoach segment. Scored 1339 this week. In any normal week, that's a very good score. Unfortunately, with everyone scoring 14 plus, 1400 plus, and the highest score being 1681, not really happy with Statisticians 25. Need to pick it up their game this week. But Pappenhausen's 197 was brilliant. Cleary's 103. Cook's 106. You know, you can't win them all, but you take pride in those performances. You know, Josh Shooter's making me 80k. Connor Watson made me 55k. So we're starting to make some improvements. Need to strengthen the backs. The backs are very weak at the moment. But we're not sitting too high up in the ranks. So the boys have a lot to do to get back to where they need to be. Moving on to round 5 talking points. The Rabbitohs taking on the Broncos Thursday night football. Benji Marshall will jump in the number 6 jersey to take the spot of Cody Walker, who's suspended. And Jacob Host will come in for Keon Koloamatangi, who's also suspended for a couple of weeks. And then Hawkins, the utility, will be named in jersey 14. For the Broncos, Herbie Farnworth is out with shoulder soreness, with Kenner coming into the centres. Carrigan suspended for a week, with TPJ moving into lock. And John Asiata will be joining the bench. Kevin Walters named a 20-man squad, not a 21-man squad. For those that probably thought it was a typo, it was only 20 men that he named. And Rabbitohs by 20 plus for that game. Warriors taking on the Sea Eagles. Adam Fanua-Blake is out after suffering that knee injury against the Roosters. Lisa Armour will start at prop. Bunty Afoa was suspended for 2 games, so Tohu Harris will move to prop. Jack Amucci will move from the bench to second row. Kane Evans will make his club debut for the Warriors off the bench. And Tom Ayo will be on the bench with Bailey Sirinen missing out in the side. For the Sea Eagles, Tom Trbojevic, again not named this week. Morgan Harper will be joining in the centres, taking the spot of Moses Sully, who is injured. Jack Kuchevsky will come back into the second row to take the spot of Morgan Boyle, who injured his shoulder and also got suspended for 2 games. And the new man of the bench is Tofafoa Sipley, who will be coming onto the bench for that game. And even though Warriors are missing a few boppers, I still think they'll beat the Sea Eagles. And I think they'll do it by 12 to 18. They've got the Panthers coming up against the Raiders, which will be game of the round for me. Can't wait for this game. The Panthers are 1 to 17. For the Raiders, Joseph Tarpanay will come back from an ankle injury to start at lock. Ryan James will move back to the bench. Ryan Sutton and Josh Papali'i will both start in the front row, and Dunamis Louis drop to the reserves. Whew. Game of the round, this one. Going to go Penrith by 4. Don't think there'll be much in it, and 2 of some of the best teams on the comp going at it, especially over at Penrith Stadium. I can't wait. Titans coming up against the Knights. Brian Kelly will come back into the centres, pushing Sammy onto the wing, and Anthony Don making way due to his injury. And Ash Taylor potentially could be named later on in the week. He's named at jersey 21 at the moment. For the Knights, Callum Ponga will finally make his long-awaited return from shoulder injury for his first match of the year. Tex Hoy is out due to the fact that he injured his hammy on the weekend. He'll be out for 2 to 4 weeks. Mitchell Pearce, again, out. Torres Peck is out for 10 to 12 weeks. So Blake Green will start at halfback. Connor Watson will move to 5'8", with Kurt Mann injured due to that concussion. And Chris Randall, Pasami Solo, and Brody Jones will be the new guys coming onto the bench. And I think with the side that the Knights have is so depleted at the moment, you've got to really feel for them. I expect the Titans to bounce back. Finally playing at home this week, so they'll be able to take the biscuits there. They should do that by 18 plus. Got the Bulldogs taking on the Storm. Not really looking forward to this game, if I can be honest with you. A lot of little silly changes here. Donovan Tennis-Lesniak returns from suspension, playing fullback. Not a fullback, but do what you got to do, Trent. Nick Meaney is out, injuring his ribs. Josh Jackson will return at lock. And Luke Thompson makes himself available, finishing that 4-week suspension. He'll play up prop. Jackson will go back to lock. Run off for Tony. And Jack Hetherington will move onto the bench. And Dean Britt and Joe Stimson will be dropped. Lachlan Lewis will be missing out this week after that head knock he copped, with Jack Avrila coming back into that 5'8", and Corey Allen swapping to centres with Kotrick going onto the wing. For the Storm, Harry Grant has been named in the 21, so potential chance he could be returning soon. Felice Kafusi returns from suspension, with Eisenuth dropping back to the bench. And Asafa Solomona and Kami Kameka are named to swap the roles they filled in at kickoff last weekend between proper lock and the bench. And Trent Loiro, who made his debut last week, drops out of the side. Bulldogs are due to win. I'll always say that every week. But yeah, if you're going to be a betting man, if you're a tipster, go tip Storm. And the Roosters take against the Sharks Roosters versus Sharks, apologies, on Saturday night. Roosters 1 to 17. Sharks, Jesse Ramey returns from suspension in the centres. Connor Tracy comes back to the bench, and Trindle goes in as a reserve. Now, expecting Roosters to win this one, but by 6 points. I reckon Sharks will put them up to the fight. So looking forward to that. You got the Tigers coming up against the Cowboys. Mbai will move into the centres with Kapawa dropped for this game. Talau moving over to the wing. Cheekham will be joining the bench for the Tigers there. For the Cowboys, Tamalolo returns from a broken hand at lock, with Josh Maguire moving to the bench. Hamiso Tabuafido goes from the wing to the centres to replace Justin O'Neill, who's out from a head knock, and Kyle Felt comes back from suspension on the wing. And the Tigers would need to bounce back this week, and they'll do that comfortably against the Cowboys. And the last game of the round, Sunday 6:15, Eels take on the Dragons. Ryan Madison comes back from that head knock. Papali'i goes back to the bench. Keegan Hipgrave will drop to the reserves, with Bryce Cartwright making his club debut. And for the Dragons, the only change, Jack Bird returns at centre, taking the spot of Williami, who goes back to the bench, and Jackson Ford moves over to the 18th man. And it's going to be a good game, this one. I want to say Dragons, but I think Eels might just edge him out and go for 5-0 to start the year. Now, I wanted to quickly just mention something here about this talk I keep hearing about who's better right now, James Tedesco or Ryan Papenhuyzen. It is not close that James Tedesco is way better than Ryan Papenhuyzen. And I know what you're thinking. I only like to say things that are controversial. But if you look at the stats, you know, yes, Papenhuyzen's had a better start to the year, but this is only his second full year of first grade. Tedesco's been doing this for the last 4, 5, even 6 years. Been playing unbelievable football. So while Papenhuyzen, I have no doubt, is a superstar, is a freak of nature, and will get very close, if not maybe on the same level as Tedesco one day, I think it shuts down the debate. I do believe Tedesco is better than Papenhuyzen. Guys, thank you for joining me on League Chat with the Stat. We've got a massive announcement coming next week, so can't wait for you all to stay tuned. Something to do with that, now that you've got the clue. We're all over the podcasting streams, as we always mention. Share it out to your friends and family. Let's get this blown up. This is probably the best podcast for NRL happening recent times. Sorry to those that like it down bloke in a bar. But look, great to have you on for another week. Enjoy round 5. Hopefully I haven't been misleading you guys with a lot of my tips, because I've been doing really bad. So if you're not listening to me, you're doing a good job. Anyway, guys, thank you again for another great week. You have yourselves a good one. Enjoy it, and I will see you same time next week. Take care, guys.